is Ödön Riszdorfer. I was born on the 26th of September in 1893 in Batthány-puszta, Komárom County. And light is my big love. After completing my legal studies at the Royal Hungarian Academy of Sciences in Budapest, I got a job as a photojournalist at the newspaper called Érdekes Újság. At the Babona stud farm, they held the gallop race of the 4-year-old breeding mares and the carriage race of the Lipizzaner mares. Uncle Aaron, who was the newspaper's photographer, was kicked by a horse, and even his hand was broken. So I was asked to take some pictures of the event. That's when I became friends with the camera, and our mutual friend became the light, whose rhapsodic nature was still often difficult for both of us to decipher. In the United States, George Eastman founded a factory in 1881 to produce photosensitive materials. In 1888, a small-sized and lightweight handheld camera was introduced to the market. The machine was intended for the general public who wanted to take pictures, who, after photo development, received a camera called Kodak reloaded. This made photography not only a professional tool, but also widely accessible. According to Eastman's famous slogan, all you had to do was pressing the camera's shutter release button. The rest of the tasks were handled by the company. You press the button, we do the rest. From 1896, Eastman successively introduced increasingly smaller but still quite sizable cameras for the new nitrocellulose roll film. In 1901, a small-sized amateur camera, the Brownie, left the factory and with various modifications remained on the market for 30 years. During the photo shoots, it became more and more clear to me that no matter how perfect the camera, the perfection of the picture taken depends on the correct exposure time. Until now, unfortunately, it was not possible to measure this time, the time of the exposure, accurately, reliably, and especially quickly with any instrument. At first, tables were used to measure exposure time, and later, optical exposure meters were made. However, since in both cases the measurement is done with our eyes, its accuracy was uncertain. Night in Budapest. I am always mesmerized, looking at the illuminated fisherman's bastion, the stone lace of the parliament, the sparkling streetlights and the Danube's glittering banks, the radiant windows of the cafes, the magnificent view from Gellért-hegy. I cannot imagine a more beautiful landscape experience than observing the majestic bend of the Danube from Gellért-hegy. I am convinced that even the most outstanding painter could not design a metropolis with a more picturesque location than this, which nature and human work together created. Night photography is an eternal, inexhaustible, and endless subject. Lamplight beautifies and makes even the dull great landscape of the day more atmospheric. In addition, with its various and multifaceted illumination, it provides many possibilities, thus allowing for the expression of individuality. It frees us from the whims of the weather. If the sky is cloudy, it doesn't matter. If it rains, even better, the sparkle and radiance increase. The most powerful lenses and strong development are necessary for this challenging subject. Balanced development completely fails here, since there is never ample illumination. Development can be done in metal sulfide, raising the temperature slightly higher than usual to 24 Celsius. I don't usually add soda or alkali at this time, no matter how tempting some recipes make it seem, because the negative tends to be hard anyway, and alkali would only increase this. We don't get fine grain, but according to old experience, we cannot expect that from evening snapshots, no matter how we develop the negative. This will only change when the long-awaited, highly sensitive fine-grained negative material is born, which is the desire of desires not only in this field, but also in many areas of artistic photography. Lighting is one of the most significant aspects of photography. Not only from a technical, but also from an artistic point of view. The type and the direction of the lighting is extremely important. Natural or artificial, diffused or sharp light, flat, side or backlight. The Hungarian aircraft factory in Albertfalva was not only the largest aircraft factory in the country, but also in the monarchy, and was the base of operations for the 2nd Aviation Squadron, where I served as an aerial observer, but actually as an aerial photographer. The official language in the factory was German. Because of this, it became better known as Ungarische Flugzeugwerke, UFAG. UFAG changed permanently in January 1916, when they accepted the order for Hansa Brandenburg C1 machines, which were the backbone of production, and proved to be the most favored and reliable reconnaissance aircrafts among pilots. When taking aerial photos, the conditions of photography change pretty rapidly, and both controllable parts, the shutter mechanism that determines the time, and the aperture must be adjusted to this immediately. During the military evaluation, dozens of consecutive aerial photographs are combined. Thus, a relatively large part of the terrain section to be examined is seen at the same time. It is very difficult to make identically shaded copies from differently exposed films, even though this is a requirement for good matching. Unfortunately, with most of the photos taken at that time, it was already known before the development that the final product would not be suitable due to the lighting conditions. I was very frustrated by this situation and I wanted to solve this problem somehow. When I got involved with aerial photography, I realized the importance of measuring illumination, and the idea and possibility of automatic regulation arose in my thoughts. I have devoted all my later work to these two topics. I began to develop my first patent for leveling aerial photographs, which is important because in practice, the camera axis is never completely perpendicular at the moment of exposure. The procedures used in this area so far did not provide a direct solution, nor did they make the necessary accuracy available in all cases. The method, according to the invention, eliminates all such disadvantages and enables the directness of correction and achieves the utmost precision. The First World War was also a war of images, more precisely, a war in which the medium of photography was used en masse for the first time. This war was the first military conflict to employ larger air forces. Our tasks were aerial reconnaissance of the enemy, observation of artillery, and combat against enemy air and ground forces. For the first time, aerial photographs were taken for various purposes, such as mosaic mapping. Unfortunately, we got unlucky on one of these occasions. The plane was hit several times, so we were forced to turn back. However, the landing did not go well due to the frozen ground. It must have been destined, because right after this, I met her. It isn't a forest without its song, its bloom, that spring can't dress in nature's room. The somber pine in constant green, mere silent stage, a tranquil scene. No whispering leaves, no branches bend, trees live for themselves, alone they fend. Like man with grand ambitions stark, and weary souls in shadows dark. Oh, how different the forest is, where the birches stand in golden sands, a tranquil land, like brides adorned in silver grace, awaiting bliss with whale's embrace. Soft whispers float and chatters sweet as maiden dew in moments discreet. In white whales, trembling with delight, awaiting joy in love's soft light. Hidden amidst leaves gleaming bright, on quivering silver whales the sun's soft light, then plays the sunbeam in merry flight on meadows where wildflowers unite. Bathed in sunshine is the birch grove fair, its charm unmatched beyond compare, like an honest heart without a snare, only radiance, no shadows glare. But different yet in the Pannonian plain, where ancient oaks their reign maintain, their leafy crowns held high and proud, stand tall, a mighty, stalwart crowd. With arms outstretched, ready for the fray, when the heavens rumble and skies turn grey. In the oak, it's as if the souls reside of weathered men in whom strength does abide. Who roars in challenge amidst the storm's fierce call, in the fullness of strength standing tall, and who whispers love, tender and sweet, softer than the oaks, their hearts complete? And is there a feeling from the heart to lips that springs, for which there's no voice that truly sings? In the oak, it's as if a lover's soul resides with dreams, making the forest whole. And from the cunning sunlight it hides emerald green that softly abides, thriving, blooming countless flowers, and sweet love's intoxicating powers. Happy birds dwell, singing free, balm carried by the breezes spree. Oh, is there anything lovelier to see in this wide world than the oak tree? So, where was I? Oh yes, the procedure for making aerial photographs horizontal. Yes. The procedure by which we achieve this result essentially involves projecting the photograph, possibly its diapositive, onto a map or a network of elevation points of an appropriate scale, such that more than two geographically corresponding points of the map or network coincide with the corresponding points of the projected image. And when we have achieved this, the projected image is recorded photographically on photosensitive paper or plate, applied to the location of the map or network. Setting more than 2 points to overlap is achieved by shifting and changing the location plane of the map or network, which may involve rotating the lens around the optical axis. In the early 1930s, we made a photoelectric illuminance meter. We later improved this and protected the device with several patents. In its perfected form, in 1934, after establishing a partnership with the Eastman Kodak Company, we started production in my own factory in Hungary and marketed it under the name Kodalux and later Superlux. One might wonder how, despite my legal background, I achieved significant results in other fields with my technical inventions. I owe a lot to my younger brother, Laszlo, who was a chemical engineer and helped my work with his knowledge throughout. With him, my brother-in-law Lajos Komoróci, and Miklós Vajta, we formed an excellent team. The invention also brought a significant change to filmmaking, making production much easier. Due to the speed of the image transmission, the exposure time for each film frame is the same during filming, so the exact lighting of the raw material must be controlled with the aperture. If, for example, you are filming a figure sitting on a sunny bench in a park and during that scene you switch to a person sitting in the shade, the aperture must be opened during the shot. The invention indicated the extent of this, and when recording, the aperture could be adjusted according to the position of the indicator. I patented things that were not theoretical, but realizable, and later protected these solutions with several foreign patents. In addition to Kodak, I signed contracts with Bosch, Kochmann, and several other companies. How did I start creating the light meter? No matter how good the film is, if it is under or overexposed, the result can be thrown away. However, manual light adjustment is difficult and imprecise, so my idea was that it should be automated. But I wasn't the first to try. In 1883, it was the Englishman Fritz who created a device that produced electricity under the influence of light. In 1885, Werner Siemens showed that the current generated in this way is proportional to the intensity of the illumination. In 1916, Pfund, and then in 1930, Falkenthal dealt with selenium-containing light elements. It took the combined effort of these pioneers to make this issue complexly solvable. In Rochester, my partial solutions were also incorporated into the Super Kodak 620 created by József Mihályfi, which was the world's first semi-automatic camera and was presented at the 1939 New York World's Fair. After this, they started calling me LUXEDMUND. The constant attacks and lawsuits I face over my patents and the questioning of the legality of my inventions take more and more energy from me every day. Fortunately, my education allows me to represent myself in these cases. Being a lawyer and an inventor, hand in hand, takes me forward and guides me on this bumpy road. We decided with my family to leave the country which had become a battlefield. We headed west, but leaving my family behind in Sopron, I returned to our apartment on Gellért-hegy Street for some important plans. The photograph is eternal. Time passes, it swiftly flies, and the fleeting moment, as it dies, like a bird in flight, vanishes when out of sight. No chain can bind it, no, not one, to capture a fragment when all's said and done. What remains here in my hand, methods to keep it are few and grand. But this is what the photograph can do, crafted by eyes and hearts so true. It halts what moves forward, swiftly flung, and forever preserves the wonder unsung. Not every moment becomes a magical art, for the cool machine lacks a human heart. It cannot conjure without someone's care. In itself, memory it cannot bear. It takes the artist, with vision clear, who sees nature's beauty, oh so dear, to restore what's seen in its true light, touched by the world so vast and bright.